GM, good morning. Welcome to the Milk Road Show, the daily crypto show where we deliver crypto insights faster than a kid opening gifts on Christmas morning. Merry Christmas, everybody. I'm your host, Jay Hamilton, and today we've got a special episode for you as a Christmas gift. Last week, Milk Road Pro members got an exclusive AMA, and it was so full of alpha that we decided to release it to you today for free. This episode will give you the edge that you're looking for as we enter 2025. And we all have this incredible opportunity to truly make life-changing money in the year ahead, assuming everything lines up to think the way we think it is, and it goes in that direction, which all the indicators are looking real bullish right now. So you're about to hear from Kyle and Martin, who are two heads of research at Milk Road Pro, and they're going to answer all the important questions that crypto investors, just like yourself, were asking in this AMA last week. They discussed topics like how a post 100K Bitcoin world will shape the price of ETH and other altcoins, and how you should be playing pullbacks in 2025. They're going to identify opportunities in altcoins. Should you be buying during some potential pullbacks? How do you play those? Most importantly, and this is the big one that I really want all of you to be thinking about over the holidays, really, is a great time to think about, step back and think about your investment goals for the year ahead, is how do you lock in profits? When do you take profits? When do you sell? And when you do take profits, what do? How do you take those profits? Do you move it into stable coins? Do you move it into fiat? A lot of conversation around that, which you guys are really going to enjoy. Also, evaluating SOL. What's the long-term potential of SOL for 2025 versus when should you be looking to exit if you have SOL, which I know a lot of you guys have big bags in SOL, and talking about a bunch of other tokens, a bunch of other narratives, exploring the DeFi narrative in particular that we are quite bullish on. Trust me, these insights, they're pure gold. You guys are going to absolutely love them. Now, if you were a Milk Road Pro member, you could have gotten this alpha a week ago and attended the AMA yourself or watched the recording immediately afterwards. So take a look, take a think. After listening to this episode, maybe you want to get yourself a Christmas gift as we enter 2025 and you want to sign up for Milk Road Pro. We got the link in the show notes so you can join Milk Road Pro and make sure you are ready to absolutely crush it in 2025. Before we jump in, we just need to take a moment to hear from our sponsors who make this show possible. Meanwhile is the world's first licensed and regulated life insurance company built for the Bitcoin economy. They do everything in BTC. You pay in BTC, they pay claims to your family in BTC. You take out policy loans entirely in BTC when you need liquidity. Protect your family from life's uncertainty and a broken financial system. Build intergenerational Bitcoin wealth while the cost of living skyrockets in dollar terms. Plus, get all the tax and legal benefits of life insurance now in Bitcoin. Visit milkroad.com/meanwhile to join the waitlist and get early access to the world's first Bitcoin life insurance.
Welcome to the AMA. Usually, just FYI, we do this at the end of the month. I think the last Wednesday of every month, but obviously because of the holidays, we're bumping this one up a little early. So we're kind of back-to-back weeks. For those that were here last week, we did one around our portfolio. So we kind of break down the Pro portfolio, why we hold all the assets, what we're seeing with them, what's new with them, etc. We don't do an AMA on that one. This one is AMA, Ask Me Anything, for those that don't know what that means. And basically, we just take a bunch of questions. We've had, 30 plus questions from everyone. And Martin and I will just go through them and answer them. So before we get into it, I'm sharing screen. Guys, make sure you're watching that so you can see the screen. I have all the slides up. Before we get into it, we'll do a quick just overview of markets where Martin and I are seeing things. Not much has changed over the last little bit. We believe, obviously still fairly early stages in the bull market. We moved into summer on the business cycle, so early stages of that. So we think there's still plenty of room left to go in this cycle. As you see on the Thursday indicators, nothing's really flashing red yet. The only sort of little concern is liquidity. Global liquidity has taken a bit of a dip. And as you guys have seen, we've written about this a lot in pro reports. Bitcoin tends to lag global liquidity by 12 weeks. So our guess is that some point end of December, early January, we have a pullback. of fairly significant, could be 20 to 30%, let's say, in Bitcoin. And then it would likely be bigger in all the alts. When that actually happens, don't know. Does it actually happen? Don't know. It's just sort of our feeling. It's kind of what it looks like. It's happened in previous cycles. It makes sense with liquidity. And also, I mean, we've had a crazy run up for the last month or so, and things are still looking a bit bullish. So maybe we continue to run up here into the end of the year. There's this thing in crypto called the Santa Claus rally, where generally crypto does pretty well, at least in bull markets in December, especially over the holidays. Why that is, don't really know completely, but so there's a good chance that that happens just in a cyclical nature and seasonality wise. But again, we expect to pull back. There's lots of questions on pullbacks and what you should do with it. So we'll talk about that in the AMA. But yeah, my assumption is probably we go a little bit higher. I think we get a rate cut tomorrow. I don't know if the market's going to care too much about it because it's kind of, I mean, it's like, what is it? 98% chance it's going to happen at this point. So I don't know how much that matters. Really, I think we'll really start to see the liquidity come into the market in Q1/Q2. So I think that's kind of what we're looking for because we're still not seeing a lot of liquidity, but I think China's going to have to start printing soon. And I think the US will as well. So lots to look forward to in 2025. One thing I would say, Martin and I have been talking a lot about AI and AI agents. We haven't done a pro report on it, but we've tried to get, because we're kind of doing a deeper analysis. So it takes longer. And there's honestly not a lot of fundamental stuff to really do a deep analysis on. So it's more theoretical. We've tried to update as much as we can about AI agents in the free newsletter. But one thing I would say is, everyone, this should be an area you are learning about, you are playing with, you are using, you are watching, because we do think this is one of the biggest things for crypto. If meme coins was the big thing in 2024, we think AI agents is going to be the big thing in 2025. The difference here is that AI agents is not only going to be hype like meme coins were, but AI agents is actually going to drive the fundamentals of crypto. And so Martin and I are kind of working through a lot of theories on this that we're going to write to you guys. But basically, the reason why we are so bullish AI agents is because not only are they something that is investable, right? Kind of like a meme coin, if you want to invest in an AI agent or in the protocols that allow for and create AI agents, they also are going to become the biggest users of crypto. They're going to be the biggest users of the blockchain. And that has massive, massive impacts that I don't know that people realize in terms of what protocols are AI agents going to use? How many transactions are they going to actually do? And it's going to be a lot more than humans. And so like, we kind of look at brands and protocols and investments off of like, will a human use this? How much will a human use this? How much will a human spend on this? And I really think we need to start rethinking how we see the world, especially the on-chain world, and start thinking about, will AI agents use this? How much will they use this? How much are they okay to spend to use this? And is this protocol make sense for them, et cetera? Because it's a whole new demographic. And I'm going to write this big piece on this, but basically you guys have maybe heard me talk a lot about boomers and how they played such an important part of the global economy over the last 70, 80 years, right? As they all made it into the workforce and started buying homes and buying stuff for their homes and having babies, those markets, those industries excelled and did really, really well because they were the biggest demographic in the world. Still are today. Now they're all retiring, which is why we're seeing kind of changes in the global economy. AI agents are about to become the next big demographic, right? There's going to be way more AI agents than there ever was boomers. And this is going to really shape the economies moving forward. Now, we're still probably years away from it making a big difference, but I think we're going to see a ton of hype in the next few months here to the next year, like this cycle. And I think there's really fundamental stuff that's going to come out of AI agents, whereas like meme coins, more similar to like NFTs in that regard, like PFP NFTs. But AI agents are the next meme coin, in my opinion, but there's some real fundamental stuff. So like, pay attention to them if as an investor, pay attention to them if you're building a business, pay attention to them if you're a user on chain. I think it's going to be a massive, massive change for this, for our industry. So anyway, keep an eye on that. We will do our best to continue to update on our theories around that and where to invest. Right now, like I know everyone's going to ask the question, probably people typing right now, what should I buy? The answer is we have no idea. It's so freaking early that like no one knows. We brought up virtuals, I think 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago in the newsletter. And at that point, we had no idea if it was going to take off today or take off in a few weeks. It's already taken off. The thing has gone from 1 billion FDV to I think it's like above 3 billion today. And like, and they did that in like 2 weeks. But is there any fundamental reason for that to happen? Absolutely not. It was just sort of like luck that it's really caught wind on Twitter. And so the same is with all this stuff, right? We have no idea what's going to happen, where the like virtuals could be not exist in two months from now, right? Like it's not like it's this established thing like Bitcoin, right? So we have no idea. So is it worth 3 billion? I don't know. It doesn't make any revenue yet, as far as I know, but maybe. Or could something else launch tomorrow and beat out virtuals like 100%, right? You never know. So again, it's there's no fundamental reason to invest in these things just yet. But definitely if you want to play in the casino, AI agents is the new spot, not meme coins, in my opinion. But anyway, that's I just wanted to update that because I think that's really cool. Martin, anything else on your mind that you've been excited about that you want to share before we get into the questions?
Yeah, I agree. I think the 2025 will be AI agentic kind of year where we'll see a lot of AI agents popping out. And we still don't know like what are the real use cases and what are there any businesses around this, those kind of stuff. So it's still like very early days. And I think the people who are paying attention today will kind of see the whole process that AI is going through, and like those people will be at some point greatly rewarded because they know all the journey and will see all the details and everything. So yeah, I think we will spend a lot of time in the next year looking into AI stuff in general and like intersection of AI and blockchains.
Yeah. And just to answer the question here, if you're fully allocated, how do you think about new things that come up? Is this more about paying attention for future allocation in the next cycle? I would say it's definitely that. Maybe there's an opportunity that comes up where we're like, okay, this thing's going to take off. We're early. Like, let's try to speculate on it for the cycle. And we might like sell some Ether Soul, depending on where it's on into that. But it's really tough to do that at this point in the cycle. So we'll see. Maybe if there's a strong pullback, we might say, hey, if you have extra capital, now's the time to buy rather than selling something and putting into it. Not sure. We'll have to just kind of see what happens. We're going to keep an eye. If we notice any opportunities, we will put it in the signals channel, of course. But again, like we try to not invest on hype and speculation because it's just, there's just a lot of risk to it. You just never know. And so even to something like virtuals, which a lot of people are like, this is the big thing. It's like, we don't really know. And so to compare it to others, we have no idea. So it's hard to like put a meaningful amount into it. Like you could put a small amount and just hope that it works. But like, I don't know, for us, we just don't really care to do that much. So we'll see. We're going to look for it, but more, it definitely is like pay attention now because opportunities will exist in the future. It's like last cycle, if you were paying attention to the bear market to Solana, it was such an easy buy under $20 for Solana and you've already 10x'd, right? Same with Coinbase, you've 10x'd. And that was not a hard decision, right? It was a very easy one, fundamentally driven, and you could get a 10x in a year. And so that's really why you want to be paying attention now. Okay, let's move away from the AI topic. Some of the things we're going to talk about here, Bitcoin above 100K, and how does that change targets, whether that be ETH, et cetera? What do we think about pullbacks? Are there any opportunities in altcoins? What should we do around when these pullbacks happen? Talking about profits up at the top of the cycle, using stablecoins or fiat. We'll answer some questions there. A lot of questions on Solana, and then a bunch of smaller tokens, ICP, Carrick, DeFi stuff. We'll cover as many as we can. So let's get into it. So the first question, could the last cycle's top, which may have been prolonged by FTX using client funds, cause us to misalign indicators this cycle? How do you factor this into your exit strategy and cycle analysis? So basically what this person's asking is, there was kind of a top last cycle in, I think it was May. And then we literally went down 55 or 60% in Bitcoin. It was wild in like a month. And then we randomly somehow like came back up in a terrible macro environment, to be honest. Like we were raising rates, liquidity was slowing down, et cetera. And we all of a sudden like went back to all-time highs. And then we just went down from there. It was a weird double top. Some believe it might have been just because of FTX kind of propping funds. I think maybe the US government did one last stimulus during that time. So that could have been it. I can't remember now. And so the question is like, most of us check and look back at the cycle top being November of last cycle, when really you could say it was maybe May. So is that going to screw things up? I would say none of the indicators we look at actually look at and compare cycles from previous. They just look at metrics like profitability of people holding Bitcoin, the MVRV and the Z-score. None of these are comparing from like November of last cycle. They're just comparing based off of like wallet addresses, what they're holding, how much profit they're in, et cetera. And so some of our predictions around like what sort of like how many X's you got from the top to top, like those things, yes. But the timing wise is a very small portion of like what we lean into to understand the top of the cycle. So I would say it doesn't really impact much. Our indicators are looking at a lot of different things than trying to compare top to top. Though I do have a pro report coming out in the next few weeks that does look at kind of like historical cycles and when we've topped and averaging things out. So still good to look at, but the key is don't look at one indicator. Look at a bunch of indicators to help you decide. And then, of course, in terms of exit strategy, we're not trying to time the top. We are trying to sell on our way up, and we are trying to sell maybe on our way down as well, depending on how much we are selling. Again, I'll have a pro report coming end of this year that's going to walk through sort of my plan for next year and kind of what to look for. When do I think pullbacks are going to happen? What's the cycle going to be like? When do we top? I'm going to sort of break that down as much as I can and talk about how to exit for that. So I'll go more in there, but I would just say, make sure you're looking at a bunch of indicators, not just one. Definitely don't just look at, the timing of last cycle's top versus timing this time. You got to look at all the indicators we have on Thursdays. Could ETH reach 8K or 10K by 2025? Now that Bitcoin has hit 100K, should we take advantage of pullbacks to invest more? So my sort of projection for ETH was around 10K. Martin, I think yours is 12 or is it 15?
8.
8. Oh, what? I swear you were 12 or 15 before. No? Did you change that?
Yeah, I was. No. Well, I mean, I think 10 is fine. I just want to be more bearish than most of the people's, because it's always better to be more bearish than the other ones rather than be more optimistic and never take any profits. And like, I can see some headwinds for ETH, but yeah, I think ETH will do still well. Yeah.
So I wrote a pro report. Pablo, if you're in here, maybe you can find it. I can't remember. It was like a year ago at least. Maybe it was around Christmas time last year, but where I talked about, I thought ETH will go to like 8 to 10K, or sorry, 8 to 12K at least. But I plan to sell my first batch around like 7,000, 7,500. Now I don't get stuck to prices. I just think that the 7,500 happens in like, let's say Q1, Q2 early on of next year. And so I plan to sell when we reach around that point, a first chunk of it. It's not all of it by any means, but I plan to sell some. And that's not to sell to like buy back in later on, or to buy back in even next cycle. That's to sell to like pay off a mortgage and buy a car, things that I've written down that I've had planned for literally since the start of this bull run. 2 years ago, I've been saying this. So the key is don't change your targets as the cycle goes on, because most people are going to get more and more bullish as the cycle goes on. As Martin said, your job is to get more and more bearish, right? So what's going to happen here is, let's say we have a pullback in January, February, March, April, Trump comes in, everyone's all bullish, we're printing money again, and Bitcoin goes to 150K, let's say, ETH is reaching 8K. All of a sudden, everyone on Twitter is going to start changing their projections. Now they're going to say Bitcoin's going to 300 or 400 or 500,000 and ETH's going to 20K. This happens every single cycle. Those are the moments where you're like, okay, now I need to start selling, because people are getting euphoric and they're getting ridiculous. So your projections should never change. The best time to make a projection is in the bear market, because that's when you're actually sober and you can think clearly. When things get a bit crazy, you're at all-time highs, you no longer think normal, and that's not the time to make predictions. So, Bitcoin at 100K is great. Doesn't change my predictions. Still think Bitcoin 150 to 200, ETH probably around 10 to 12. But again, I'm not trying to sell it at 10 or 12. The part that I'm selling first is much lower than that, 7,500, 7,000 maybe, because I don't want to wait until the top, because that top might never happen. Everyone called for 10K last cycle on ETH and it made it to 5, right? So if you were sitting there waiting to be around that top, you were nowhere close and you got wrecked, which most people did. Now, who knows if that happens? Maybe we blow by it. I don't know. Again, don't really care, because at least 50% of my portfolio, I'm not selling at all, right? And for most of you guys, it should probably be higher. I actually recommend you don't sell a lot of it, because we are in a super cycle, right? And not the super cycle of like we never have a bear market. Super cycle we've been in for 15 years, where crypto goes up and up and up and up over time. And so I think most people should hold long term, not try to get cute with it. But you should sell along the way if you need it to pay a loan, to buy a home, to buy a car, to pay for your kid's school, like whatever it is. If you need money, take profits. But I don't recommend trying to sell time tops, time pullbacks, and like buy back in. That's just going to get you wrecked. So I said 50, I won't be selling 50%. And should we take advantage of pullbacks to invest more? I always struggle with this one. Like you should have done that in the last 2 years. Definitely. We had been saying it for the last 2 years of like every pullback, we're like buy, like go all in, buy. Now that we're at all-time highs, you got Bitcoin at 100K. Like if it goes maybe to 150, it's not a ton more. It's 50% more. It's not a lot, but obviously still pretty good. But like, should you really, because there's a chance it doesn't go that. What if it only goes to 125? So like, what if we go to 125, in the next 2 weeks, and then it pulls back to 100 and you're like, okay, sick. I'm going to invest in this. I'm going to buy more. And then it only makes it to like 130, but you're waiting for 150 or 200. And then it drops 50%. Now you're down to like 50K or 75K, right? Like it's not a great risk reward now to be plowing money in on pullbacks, but we'll see. We'll have to see what the market's like. Like if we get a pullback very soon, then yeah, I think it's a good opportunity still, because I think we've still got 6 to 12 months left in this market. But like if the pullback doesn't happen for 3 months from now, then like I don't know, I'm definitely not buying anymore. So it's just know that it's quite risky now to be buying pullbacks. I know everyone on Twitter says this, like buy the dips, but that's what you want to do in the bear market. You don't want to do that at the tail end of the bull market, because you just never know when you're going to get wrecked. So just be careful. And if you're going to do it, maybe. Sorry, go for it. If you again, actually, one more thing just to add before you jump, Martin. If you're investing long term, buy the dips for sure, right? If you're going to hold for 5 years or more, 100% buy the dips. Buy all the dips you want, as long as you're not trying to sell it this year. If you're trying to sell it this year and you need that money this year, then don't be buying the dips. That's all I would say.
Yeah, I agree. But like, I hesitate to tell people to take advantage of pullbacks because you never know if it's going to be 10% or 30%.
Yeah.
And then at some point, you might feel as a genius, like you outsmart the market and you bought it cheaper, right? But also then sometimes you might be buying like cheaper Bitcoin, but it might never go up again. Like it will eventually in a couple of years, but and maybe at that point you want already like just halt your strategy and don't try to time the markets. So like I feel like it seems so tempting to try to take advantage and buy cheaper Bitcoin or ETH or whatever, but it's so stressful to do it. And like you will be thinking about it constantly, like, okay, today it's Tuesday, should I buy today? Or no, it's too high today, I'll buy tomorrow. And it's so stressful and it's not worth your time. And yeah, it's not worth it, I think.
It's also extremely difficult. Like looking back, I know it seems easy to time pullbacks, to sell at the top and buy at the bottom. Like here's last cycle. Okay. We're December right about here. So we're right here. And I think this is what I'm calling is the same thing. Like we might, what are we, December 17th or something right now. So we go up a bunch more. And then, early January, we have a dip, right? Then we go up a bunch and then we have a dip. And like, yeah, if you bought this and then you sold here and then you bought here and then you sold here and then you bought here, like, yeah, you'd be friggin' unreal and you'd make a bunch of money. But like the chance of this happening are so hard. Like the amount of people that were right here in May and we went down 20, 30% 4 times in a few months. And then it happened again. And everyone was like, okay, I'll buy right here. And then it went down another 50%, right? And you didn't know that was going to happen. Everyone thought this was just another 20% dip and we were going to go from here. And it didn't happen, right? And so like trying to really time this stuff is so freaking hard. And like you might go, well, I'll wait for it to be 30%. And then it only goes 27. And then you missed it, right? So it's just like this stuff is so not easy. Because you also got to remember, like you're dealing with everyone saying, okay, the pullback's done on Twitter. And then it's not. Or the pullback's coming on Twitter. And then it, like, you know what I mean? Like you have no idea what's really happening in the market. And so trying to time it is just a recipe for disaster. So I just recommend you don't do it all. Unless you are investing long-term, then buy the dips. That's fine. But if you are trying to trade and sell the tops and buy the dips, you will get wrecked. I promise you that. What I recommend everyone today is when we get a dip, right? Or even right now, I get all these people, a bunch of our questions here are, should I sell right now and buy back in when the dip happens? Do it. I actually recommend everyone here do it with like $100 and just see in 6 months from now, you trying to time the market, do you have more than $100 or less? Because I guarantee you Bitcoin will go up 50% from here and you're going to have less than 50%. Like you're going to have less than $100 left of that $100. So just all you got to do is try it once. You'll get smoked and then you'll be like, okay, yeah, I'm never going to do it again. Because people who have been around for a second cycle, they never ask me, should I do this? They never do. But everyone asking is in their first cycle because they think it's so easy because they look at the charts and it seems so easy and it's not. So anyway, if you're in your first cycle and you've never tried to time the market, try to time the market. And also, if we could get a predictions market where I can bet that you're going to lose, I would love to be able to do that because I will win 100% of the time. I'd rather bet on that than bet on Bitcoin this cycle. I'm just kidding. All right, what's next? If Bitcoin pulls back soon, how will altcoins like ETH and Sol react? Will they drop harder? And does this create a buying opportunity? Yeah, tough question to answer. Probably they will pull back more, but also we are at a point where Martin and I have flagged a few times where we think probably ETH BTC has bottomed and Bitcoin dominance has topped. And so whether they pull back farther or not, we're unsure. Sometimes they might not actually pull back as far, at least ETH and Sol. Others, like the small ones, they will definitely pull back way more, but they will often rocket like way faster. And so like after the pullback, Bitcoin will go up, 10% in a week or 2 weeks, and ETH and Sol will be up like 50, like something crazy. So this is why we believe right now you want to be more allocated to something like ETH and Sol. And so again, same rules apply though in terms of buying opportunity. Don't try to sell and buy in. Just if you're holding long term, feel free to buy dips. Otherwise, I'd probably just like stay away from it and maybe park some cash in Ethena right now, get your 27% or whatever the APY is, and just let that cook until the bear market comes. Right? Never hurts to be holding US dollars that's bringing in 27% yield. That's insane. Okay, if the Bitcoin reserve gets approved, what impact will this have on altcoins? Could it crush alts and prevent an all season? Martin, I'm gonna let you take this one to start, and then I'll jump in. Any thoughts?
That's pretty funny because I believe that Bitcoin reserve thing is going to happen, and Kyle don't think so. But anyways, I think it doesn't impact altcoins because who is going to be the buyer of Bitcoin at that point? It's not going to be the people who are aping into altcoins, right? Yes, some people might take profits and then reallocate into altcoins. But I think if Bitcoin reserve is approved, like you will see a net new buyers who will be buying Bitcoin. And I still think there will always be buyers for altcoins as well. Because also like this kind of new catalyst for the markets can just attract even more eyes and more people into crypto in general. And most of the people will look at the Bitcoin and will say like, okay, it's already too late kind of thinking. So they will look elsewhere, like, down the risk curve to ETH, Sol, or I don't know, some other altcoins out there. So I don't think it will prevent an altcoin season. In terms of like Bitcoin dominance, well, it's hard to say, but the price performance, I still think that some small like altcoins will outperform Bitcoin this cycle.
Yeah, I think if Bitcoin reserve happens, Bitcoin dominance probably skyrockets. And the like altcoin season index probably doesn't show that it's an altcoin season, but I would assume that altcoins still do extremely, extremely well because this is like a stamp of approval for crypto. Now I know it's just Bitcoin and Bitcoin should do really, really well. So like you technically probably don't need to go and jump in all these riskier altcoins. But I think if Bitcoin reserve happens, it's a net positive for the whole industry. I don't think altcoins like sell off and get wrecked and like, Bitcoin goes up 100%, but altcoins go down 50. Maybe Bitcoin outperforms them for a period of time. But I would say it's a net positive for the industry for sure. We would love for that to happen. Also, look at this Bitcoin dominance. We thought it was it topped. It's fighting. It's fighting to come back. We'll see what happens, but I think we'll still see it come down. Just a pullback.
We also heard that some senator in Europe suggested European Union to consider adding Bitcoin as a strategic reserve as well.
Russia
So
too, and Brazil.
yeah. So it's kind of creating this kind of pressure on US. Like everyone else is already considering it. So like if we are not doing it, but everyone else is, even though we are still world reserve currency, like I can feel that there is some pressure happening.
For sure. I still don't know. It kind of feels to me, it's like everyone has nukes, but no one will use their nukes. It's kind of, that's what this looks like. It's like, everyone's like, hey, I'll do this. I'll buy Bitcoin and put it on my like balance sheet. But then like no one will actually do it because I think it does cause some issues in a lot of these like nation states to do this, to get off the sort of fiat standard. And I think it has some big impact. Like, I don't think people realize what this will do if and when any country like does this, especially a big country like the US. So yeah, I don't know. I think they're all gonna continue to like say they're gonna do it. We'll see if anyone pulls trig. It'll be I hope they do. I really, really hope they do. By the way,
I think they will.
Yeah.
Sorry, just last comment. I think they will because they don't have many other options. If your currency is just experiencing high inflation and your economy is not doing well, like you don't have too many choices what you can do here. So adding Bitcoin feels like the easiest way to kind of stabilize your country.
Yep. We'll see. All right. Next up, is Solana a short-term sell this cycle or a long-term hold similar to Bitcoin and ETH? Could ETH's improvements eventually replace Solana's use case by addressing UX and L2 fragmentation issues? Great question. Martin, you want to answer that one or do you want me to?
Yes, I can answer that. Well, at this point, I think Solana and Ethereum are addressing different markets. Like Solana, it's integrated blockchain, which means like everything is happening on Solana mainnet, and like, well, it's still like permissionless, so you can come to Solana and create layer 2 on top of Solana. But if Solana will see a lot of adoption, the layer 2s will exist on Solana as well. But my point is that Ethereum chose different path, and they are using rollups to scale, right? So Ethereum is able to attract, Sony, Deutsche Bank, PayPal, like basically everyone who can come over to Ethereum and build on top of Ethereum. And Solana can't really offer that. I mean, like you can create app, obviously, but Coinbase is not interested in building app on Solana. They want their own blockchain. And for now, it's the easiest way how to get into the space is kind of creating roll up on top of Ethereum. So I feel like there are different future paths for both of them. And at some point, I was more like fan of the monolithic side on Solana side, but now I feels more like, okay, what's happening on Ethereum and all the corporations adoption, all the giants being interested on building on top of Ethereum, it makes me bullish on ETH more.
I agree. I'm more bullish on ETH's roadmap in the future, but I think both are going to do well for the short term. Both will do well for the medium term, at least, meaning like years and years. And then who knows what happens 5+ years from now. But I'm bullish on both. I would be, so like if I'm going to sell my crypto this cycle, I'm going to sell a large portion of my soul for sure. I'm also going to sell some ETH without a doubt, but I'm selling and going to hold a lot less Solana this cycle than I would something like Bitcoin and ETH. So yeah. And I do think as Ethereum continues to improve its roadmap, it's going to, gain back some mind share. But again, I think Solana probably continues to outperform ETH this cycle. But I think it will underperform during the bear market. I'm not convinced that we're going to have a crazy bad bear market like we did last cycle. But I think we'll still have a bear market where things go down 50% plus. So if you need to sell to buy a mortgage or to do something, like, yeah, definitely I would be selling some of it. But I think it's not like this is the last cycle for Solana, in my opinion. I see a lot of people talking about MicroStrategy. I just want to hit that real quick. There's been an interesting little, we put out a thing and we talked about it actually in our AMA at the end of November, that we feel at some point Bitcoin and MicroStrategy will kind of decouple, and you'll be buying MicroStrategy, Bitcoin will be going up, but MicroStrategy won't go up anymore. And if you just look at the last 3 weeks here, from like, let's say the 20th, for example, Bitcoin is up something like, 20% in the last, since November 20th. And if you look at MicroStrategy, it's actually down 15% or 20%, sorry, since the 20th. And so, we're already starting to see it happen. So is it make sense buying MicroStrategy? Not sure. Bitcoin's gone up 20 and MicroStrategy down 20. That is a huge swing, 40% swing, right? That's a big miss if you bought MicroStrategy in the last few weeks. So we told you guys, don't do it. Don't buy it. Doesn't make sense. Now, at some point, this will flip again and MicroStrategy will probably outperform as we get bullish again. But I'm pretty sure that MicroStrategy is not able to buy Bitcoin in January. So there's going to be a stale month of MicroStrategy buying. And so, yeah, and that's probably why it's underperforming. So anyway, just again, be careful. This could get even worse. Bitcoin could continue to go up for the next little while. MicroStrategy could continue to go down. So that's just, that's a terrible play. And I would just hate for anyone to be stuck in that. Okay. Well, the
What's
current
also
meme coin,
interesting, sorry,
yeah.
just one comment about MicroStrategy. It has been added on NASDAQ, right? And even though MicroStrategy kind of feels like technology company, it's basically just Bitcoin, right? And
Yeah.
NASDAQ has never had like any commodity in the index. And now with MicroStrategy, we all know that it's just Bitcoin and the huge bet on Bitcoin. And now being part of NASDAQ, it also shows that like NASDAQ feels the potential and like a lot of people are going to buy this thing, and like we need to have this exposure to Bitcoin somehow in our index. So they approved it, even though like the business of MicroStrategy, doing something, like who cares about that?
Yeah.
Everyone only cares about buying Bitcoin and like getting more money and more funds to order to buy even more Bitcoin. So that's pretty interesting.
Another thing you can do for those that hold MicroStrategy is, we talk about de-risking throughout the bull market. You want to become more of a bear than everyone else. One way to de-risk is just like MicroStrategy is a levered bet on Bitcoin. Just move your MicroStrategy into Bitcoin. That is de-risking in and of itself. You still have exposure to Bitcoin for the rest of the cycle, but you've de-risked, right? Now, it's not technically profits, but selling some MicroStrategy into Bitcoin means there's a lot less downside while still having some exposure to the upside. So, and then again, if you're leveraged on anything, you can start to de-risk that stuff now. That's how you can play pullbacks without actually getting out of the market, right? So that's another thing to think of. Now, I don't hold MicroStrategy, so I'm not going to do that, but I know some of you guys do. Yeah, just be careful. All right.
And
well,
also, if you hold MicroStrategy, also look at how much Bitcoin they hold and what's the value of those Bitcoins, because maybe MicroStrategy holds, I don't know, 50 billion worth of Bitcoin, but they are priced like 80 billion. So there is a huge premium, So like be also aware of these high premiums, and maybe like if at some point there is really huge premium, you might take some profits off the table when, like they only have 50 billion worth of Bitcoins, but their MicroStrategy is priced at, I don't know, 200 billion or something, like just crazy higher than the assets under management. Then, so yeah, be aware of that premium.
Yeah. Okay. Will the current meme coin mania end? What's your opinion on investing in micro caps during this cycle? I don't think meme coins go away by any means. I think they probably continue to grow in 2025. Generally, when more liquidity comes into a market, when prices go up, people go more down the risk curve. Meme coins obviously at the tail end of that. So it would make sense to me that meme coins would continue to pump. But I think AI agents is going to be the next meme coin, and they're going to steal a lot of the thunder of meme coins. So I'm actually unsure what happens to meme coins in this world. I think if you're going to speculate, you want to get on the tail end of the risk curve, then go AI agents. Probably no need to do meme coins at this point. AI agents literally are your meme coins, but they're like things that actually talk and create content and like do shit. And it's pretty cool. So I would say you should be looking at AI agents, not meme coins moving forward. Though again, meme coins will probably continue to do well. The pumped up fun ones, I don't know. Feels to me we've sort of topped out on those things. And AI again is stealing its thunder. But like I'm sure the like Doge and Dog with Hat and some of the bigger ones, Pepe, will continue to do well. Especially I think Doge does really well next year because of Elon and Vivek coming into the government. But yeah, for meme coins, just look for the things where memes are going to continue to proliferate. But I think AI agents are the place to be if you want to speculate.
It also feels like meme coins provide you the huge upside. That's why people love that, right? And now you can buy agents. They provide also like enormous upside, but maybe there is a chance that they will do something great and more people will buy it and they might create some value. So like
But don't invest
It's a
in
better
them on
version of
fundamentals.
meme coins. Yeah.
Assume
Sure.
every AI agent doesn't end up creating any value whatsoever, and it's all real stupid, because that's probably what's going to happen for the next, at least this version of AI agents.
Yeah,
Martin, this one's over to you. Why would someone choose Maker over Ethena when Ethena is offering higher yields and has gained traction?
Yeah, it's all about Ethena is here just not even a year, and now they are outperforming everyone else. And what's happening on the back end is that Maker is also tapping more into Ethena. So right now, like, Maker is not trying to get new people saying we provide the best yield, but we provide the best kind of risk adjusted yield, because we have been along here for a couple, like, I don't know, 6 years or so. We have never been hacked. We have multiple strategies. So if the futures and perps and all the leverage is going out, we still can tap into lending and US treasuries. Well, which is actually true for Ethena now as well, as they just launched their US treasuries. So, and there is also an interesting thing which many people don't really appreciate, but the big players do, and that's the fact that you can always swap USDS from Maker into USDC, like 1-to-1 in a huge amounts, because you are directly using Maker protocol. And with Ethena, you always need to use secondary markets, and you don't have access. You don't have that stable peg which is tied to USDC, and that's something which is kind of invisible for like many retail people who are just using it for not as huge amounts, but for big players it matters a lot. And now Ethena is getting a lot of traction. They will probably hit 6 billion circulation quite soon. But what's happening on Maker is they're also trying to push the savings rate higher. So they need to be high enough to also get more demand, because right now, as we said last week, the stablecoin supply for Maker is kind of flat and it's not growing, but it should be growing. So Maker also needs kind of increase the rates, and so they are much closer to Ethena. And also, like, people only see Maker as a stablecoin thing, but Maker is still like the best protocol you can borrow money in crypto, because if I borrow on Aave or elsewhere, the borrowing rates spike based on how much supply is there. It's quite complex, but anyways, the point is that for Maker, you know that if you borrow today, you will pay 12% no matter what, and if these rates are about to change, there needs to be governance vote. So I will be informed in time that, okay, tomorrow they are proposing to increase rates. So I won't be paying 12%, but I will be paying 15%. Versus if I borrow from Aave, for example, today I can see that I'm paying 12%, but overnight there will be some new borrower like withdrawing all the liquidity available, and the rates can just skyrocket. And I will wake up tomorrow to figure out that, oh, I'm paying 40%. Wow, that's crazy. That's not what I want to do. So, there are different things that it's not just about the yield, which you can see, like USDS has lower APY than Ethena.
Sweet. Thank you. Let's keep trying to get through them all. By the way, someone's asking about Pudgy. Pudgy is or Pengu, I think is the token. So that's the big airdrop. You guys shall check if you've been around for a while and you have an ETH wallet or Solana wallet, you've done things on ETH or Solana in the last few years, you likely are eligible for this airdrop. If anyone has the link, I think it's claim.pudgypenguins.com or something. Go check. I got $300 or something of Pengu today. I sold it. I also believe that Luca is going to do a good job with this, but it's going to take, months to however long for it to do well. So I imagine it's going to sell off for a bit. Could be short term. I don't know. And then maybe they find a way to do it. But right now they've just airdropped a token to almost everyone in the crypto space. Most of these people are going to sell their tokens, right? That's just how this works. So this isn't like a Hyperliquid where there's tons of revenues and like, a bunch of reasons to buy back the token, et cetera. It's literally just a meme coin. for now. Does ICP have long-term potential, or is its narrative too weak to consider right now? Internet Computers, ICP, for those that don't know. I was very surprised. So a developer report came out last week, and ICP was like the third highest for new developers out of all blockchains. So very surprised. Not sure how they faked that. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know where that came from, but I don't think ICP has a narrative. I would not be invested in it. They're not building anything of substance that I've seen. Though the fact that there's all these developers has me intrigued and makes me want to learn more, but I don't know enough about ICP to say yes or no. But it doesn't have the mind share on Twitter, that's for sure. It doesn't have a strong community, that's for sure. A bunch of VCs invested in it, and they've just sold and sold and sold for years, ever since it launched last cycle. So like, it's a fairly hated token, and doesn't have the mind share like a Solana does or anything else. And then I don't know, I've never seen any app ever built and launched on ICP. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, they have like the third most developers. Where that came from or how that exists, I don't know. I feel like they faked that somehow. But yeah, I don't know. Otherwise, I would say too weak of a narrative for sure.
And also, what can they bring new to the market? What do we have today? Like, we have fast, cheap blockchains, and that's what they were, like advertising that they will be able to provide. But we have that now. So, like, yeah.
Is it safe and legal for US-based investors to access Ethena using a VPN? Are there any workarounds or risks involved? Look, I would just use a VPN. It's super simple. It's all you got to do. Are you going to get in trouble for it? Like, the chances are extremely, extremely, extremely low. And then also you have Trump coming in who's going to change regulations. Like, look, don't take my word for it, but just use a VPN. You'll be fine. There's no other workarounds. Either you got to leave your country and go spend some time on vacation in Mexico, and then you can do it, or just use VPN. Everyone uses VPNs for everything in crypto, and you'll be fine.
But some websites also block VPN, unfortunately.
Some do, yeah. I don't know about Ethena, but and sometimes it depends on your VPN. Certain VPNs get blocked, and certain don't, and some don't. So I don't know. But like, for example, I still use VPN. I'm in Canada, but we get blocked from some things as well. I just use a VPN. You know what, Martin? We're going to skip this one because we actually already touched on Pangu. I didn't realize that was a question in here. Oh, look at that. It was MRKZ who asked in the chat as well. That's funny. What are the best projects to get exposure to Base right now? Yeah, that's a good question. Look, Base is easily one of the hottest chains right now. I think it becomes the #1 chain next year and surpasses Solana. That's a stretch to say that. Solana is very far ahead in terms of activity and et cetera. But this is why, again, AI agents is such a key thing to watch, because the biggest user of blockchains by the end of next year is probably going to be AI agents and not humans. We're probably already somewhere, like, not AI agents, but like bots are probably, a large percent of, maybe even a majority of activity on blockchains. Now, that's not AI. That's just a bot. It's like an automated thing that a human set up. But I think actual AI, artificial intelligent bots, are going to be the majority of activity on chains probably by next year, end of next year. Maybe it's going to be 2 years, but it's going to happen pretty quickly. And so what you want to really look for is, like, what are the chains that are doubling down on that and really making that happen, right? And Base is one of the leaders. Solana is the other one. That's why I don't like, if Solana wasn't doing the AI agents, I'd be like, yeah, for sure, Base is just going to completely crush them. But Solana is obviously really big on this too. I think they're 1 and 2 right now. I guess Near would be maybe the other one, but I haven't really heard much of AI agents over there, so I don't know. But so like, best way to get exposure to Base, Coinbase, right? So buying coin, it's not a token. I know everyone's going to ask this question. It is a stock. You have to buy it in your Charles Schwab account or your Quest Trade or whatever else you use to buy stocks. It is not a crypto token. There might be tokens called coin. Don't buy them. They're a scam. There's also tokens called Base, and they are not real either. I saw someone on our Discord asking this yesterday. So Coinbase is your best one to do, okay? Because it's direct exposure to Base and the company that runs it. Also, a lot of what's going to happen with Base moving forward in terms of its adoption is going to rely on Coinbase to do well, and then shift its audience and its users from Coinbase over to Base. Coinbase Ventures invests a lot of its capital into projects on Base. So like, if you really want exposure to Base, Coinbase is the clearest way. Other things you can do is, like, sure, meme coins, Degen, Hire, Brett are all meme coins that exist on Base. I don't own any of them. I'm not super bullish on them. Arrow is a big one. It's, to me, I'm not sure how much more room that thing has, but it's done really, really, really well last year, and really has been the dominant player on base, and so it's been able to capitalize on that. Will it continue? That I don't know. It's hard to say, but that would be one. That's a DEX, by the way, Arrow, that has really done well over on base. Other than that, like, look for what's going on in the AI world. Virtuals is one. You know, it's already gone from $1 billion to $3 billion last 2 weeks. I'm not saying you should buy it, but like, if you want to speculate on base being the winner of AI agents and virtuals being that one, that's another way to do it. But again, that'd be a small casino bet. You have no idea. So really, it's Coinbase, and then I think you're maybe buying some meme coins if you want, or Arrow. But for me, it's all Coinbase. That's where I'm putting all my capital to get exposure to base.
I think Vanek or someone big have among predictions that coin will be available on tokenized on base.
Yeah, I have that prediction. So does Vanek. They copied me.
I had that first. Anyways.
So yeah, at some point I do think Coinbase will be available on base and you can buy the ticker, but right now it's not a thing. So anyway, that's what I would say. Otherwise, honestly, go use base, because the more you use base, at some point they're going to launch a token, maybe, and you'll probably get an airdrop if you use it. So that would be my other way to get exposure. CowSwap has been performing well lately. Do you see this trend continuing? I'll give my quick 2 cents, and then Martin, you can go on. But yes, absolutely we do. That's why we put a call in for Cow Protocol. We think it's still a tiny, like, it's still under $1 billion, I think, market cap. So it's still, in my opinion, got plenty of room to run. It's one of the best DEXs and experiences you can have in crypto right now. They just launched on base. If you guys remember last week, we said that was the big thing they need to do. And literally 2 days after, they launched on base. And so it performed really well from that. It's getting close. I think it hit $1. And yeah, I think it has plenty of room to run. If for those that are new, that are looking at the protein signals, we took profits on CowSwap a couple weeks ago or last month. That's because it got a listing on, I think, Binance, and it went up like almost 3x in 24 hours. So we took some profits because we knew it was going to come back down. We moved those profits into Lido and Maker, and those have both done quite well since we did that. So it was a great trade. We could have came back and bought in. Like when it got to 0.3, 0.4, it was very obvious that we were going much higher from here, but we already had exposure. We didn't really need to do it, but like we definitely could have. And again, hindsight would have been smart, right? But we didn't, you never know, right? Like it's always easier to look back and say, but yeah, we think CowSwap is just getting started. It fundamentally is like one of the best assets in this space, and it's just starting to get its narrative. So it doesn't really have that yet, and we think it can. Even like when the price was going up, you saw everyone in our pro Discord mooing, and I was like, okay, that's a meme right there. Like if we're mooing right now because we all hold it and it's getting higher, that's a meme that's going to make its way to Twitter. And as Cow continues to do better, more and more people are going to do that. So we're very bullish. And we might actually also have some news coming out with the partnership with CowSwap in the near future. So just you heard it here.
There's some alpha.
Yeah, there's some alpha. Right. Anything else you want to add on CowSwap, or should we try to get through the rest of these questions?
Yeah, move on.
Okay. Is it too late to buy Hyperliquid's hype token, or is there still upside to capture? So Hyperliquid, for those that you don't know, is an L1 that is like a kind of like DYDX, but I guess a better version. The best way to explain it is it's Binance, but on chain. So you don't need KYC. And they launched a token a few weeks ago now. They launched at a very low FTV, where usually tokens do the opposite so that their VCs can make a lot more money. They did a very low one, and so the market is just piled into it for the last few weeks. It's gone from, I don't know, I think it's done like a 6x in the last 2-3 weeks. So it's done really well. It's sitting at now an FTV of around like 25 billion, which is pretty crazy. But like according to fees, it's still undervalued, at least if you compare it to ETH and Sol. Although I don't think L1s are valued based off fees, so I don't think that's a good chart to look at, even though you see it a lot on Twitter. I'm not buying it here. To me, it just doesn't really make a ton of sense, though I'm sure it continues to do well. It is supposedly a really good product, good platform. I don't use it. Martin, have you tried it? And do you have any thoughts on it?
I don't use it, but I think Hyperliquid can still go. I think they can surpass 100 billion. And the reason is they're obviously a very popular app, and they provide like the best experience for traders. And we have a lot of traders in crypto. So like the product is really good. People love that. That's one thing. And so if we think from kind of DeFi perspective that they are building some trading product, which is really good. And in general, we think that some DeFi projects can hit 50 billion this cycle. That's fine. That's 50 billion. But then you can also add the layer one, because it's not just kind of trading platform. They have their own layer one. So if you add that we have 50 billion valuation for a useful, great DeFi product, and then you can add another 100 billion because they are layer one, which is getting a lot of liquidity, a lot of users, so they can start building some additional apps on top of that. So I don't see a reason why they couldn't surpass 100 bill. But
one lesson here, as everyone listens, I know you guys are going, oh, it might go to 100 billion. That's a 4x. And everyone's like, sweet, I'll go buy that token, Just compare that now to others that could maybe 4x. Like someone just asked, what's my price prediction for Solana? I think somewhere between $500 and $1,000. So if it hits $1,000, that's a 4x, more than a 4x from where we are today. What is a better risk reward? Solana 4xing or Hyperliquid 4xing? Probably Solana, because the risk is a lot less, but they both have the same potential, we're saying. So like, should you diversify and go buy Hyperliquid, which might 4x, or should you just keep it in the thing that for sure is going to 2x? For sure is, you know what I mean? It's for sure going to 2x from here, maybe at 4x's. Hyperliquid is like, maybe at 4x's, it could also go to 0. The token's been around for 2 weeks, So like the risk reward is not even close. And so oftentimes you need to look at these things, these new tokens. Everyone gets so excited about every new token that comes out, right? Like you see our questions, Hype, Virtuals, Pengu or whatever, like all these things that just launched. And people are like, well, how high could they go? Should I buy them? And it's like, oftentimes the answer is actually just no. Stop looking at like the shiny new toy syndrome, which a lot of people have, because yes, it could 4x, but so could Solana. And so like, why would you hold anything when you know you can hold something that's so strong, right? So you got to always compare risk rewards. And I understand there's some good reward and Hype, and it might do really well. And you're going to be mad that you don't own any of it. But if you just hold Solana and it does the same, you're going to be very happy. If you can let your mind not get scared or get like FOMO because you missed out on Hype, right? But if you're smart and you're like risk reward is what matters here, then you don't let that stuff kind of eat you up. So anyway, just something to keep in mind.
If I sounded too bullish, I'll give you just quick bearish take. And that's Hyperliquid is running just 3 servers in Tokyo. And if there is some regulator coming in and saying, okay, guys, you are closing the shop, then you have it, So it's like, there's always like, you need to look for the good things, like having some bullish case, but you also need to be aware, like what's in the way. What could actually happen, So like,
also it's generally better to buy things when there isn't a bunch of hype about them, right? Like we bought Cow when no one was talking about Cow, and now a lot of people are starting to talk about Cow, right? You always want to buy things when people aren't talking about them, but you assume that soon they will be talking about them. The worst time to buy is when everyone's talking about them. And like, what's everyone talking about right now on Twitter is hype. It's not to say it's not going to continue going up, but it's not the best time to buy it, Okay, I'm going to answer 2 more questions here around Tesla and Coinbase, and this one's also on Coinbase. How do you find it before everyone talks about it? You do research. Cow Protocol, we did research. We understood the data. We understood the fundamentals, and no one was talking about it yet. All of a sudden, people started realizing the fundamentals. People started talking about it. Okay, will you sell your Tesla and Coinbase stocks in the next year or in 2026, just like you plan to sell some crypto assets? Yeah, great question. The answer is yes. And the reason is because Tesla and Coinbase are in my tax-free savings account. And so I can sell them with no tax hit. So that's going to be, I planned to put a bunch of capital in ETFs. In Canada, we've had ETFs much longer in the US, plus Tesla, plus Coinbase. And my plan was to make that the capital, most of the capital that I sell this cycle. I will sell some of my actual crypto as well. But so this is all supposed to be sold at some point. Tesla is the one where maybe it doesn't get sold at the same time as crypto. It could go longer. I don't know. It's not going to be, Coinbase is going to play exactly the same as a crypto cycle. Tesla could be a bit different. We'll see. Tesla is playing on the cycle of like cars and how they work with the business cycle, which is different than crypto. It's also playing on AI and robotics, et cetera. And so like, if by the end of this year, Tesla's launching, their humanoid robots and their self-driving cars, like I'm probably not selling that thing anytime soon, right? So we'll see. They are all ones that I could either hold long-term or I could sell. Just the fact that I put it in my TFSA, which is tax-free savings account in Canada, I will be selling it just because it's my plan to do that this cycle. But you could easily hold Tesla and Coinbase long-term and do really well. Tesla, I think, is going to become the most the most valuable company, highest value company in the world in the next like 3 to 4 years. So that is easily a long-term hold along with your Bitcoin. And then Coinbase, that for me is a cycle play, but we'll have to see how they do over the next year. Last question is, why hasn't Coinbase's poor user experience, like account locks and users moving away, impacted its stock performance? Is it just temporary, overblown? Yeah, it's a good question. Look, a lot of this is overblown. And the other thing to think about is like, why can a lot of people not get in touch with Coinbase's support? It's because its product is so damn good and there's so much demand that they just don't have enough staff to help out. That's not a bad thing for a stock. That's a good thing. It sucks for the like small end user for now. They'll fix that. They just got to hire a bunch more people, but that takes time, right? These are humans that need to come in to fix this. Unfortunately, AI is not ready to fix that yet. And so like takes time. They didn't know that Trump was going to win and like all of a sudden everyone was going to come back into crypto in November. No one knew that, right? We thought there was a good chance Trump was going to win, but we didn't know that it was going to be this crazy. Like our pro Discord doubled in size in 2 weeks, right? We had to find more staff to help on support. We are now building an AI bot to help on support, but we're much smaller than Coinbase. And so when I see that, hey, there's a bunch of issues of support, I'm like bullish. It just means that it's too busy. It's doing too good, right? They'll fix that. And then a lot of it, honestly, is people blowing it out of the water on Twitter. I don't think it's as bad as people say. It could be other exchanges that are like planting bots that do this to make it look like it's worse than it is. Like, again, don't believe a lot of the shit on social media. And then account locks, you got to understand that this is very normal. You need account locks in the space because I don't think people realize how many people get scammed by crypto. When you sign up to an exchange in Canada, for example, they message you first. And before they approve you to do anything, they say, have you just got a job that's asking you to like sign up for a crypto account? Because it's a common scam. They ask you all these things and they don't actually approve you because people don't realize there is a lot of people that don't understand what's going on, that think they have this opportunity and it's someone scamming them in crypto. And Coinbase doesn't want to allow that. And so they have to block people before they can ensure that they're not getting scammed. And then there's also just a lot of account locks of people that come in and do sketchy things. Like there's a lot of reasons why this stuff happens, because you got to remember, it's not like the traditional world where you can buy something with your credit card, and then if they want, they can just revert that transaction. They have 30 days to do it. So they don't need to lock your credit card. You just let someone scam your credit card. They'll just refund it at any time, right? That's not how it works in crypto, though. A scammer takes your money and it's gone. Coinbase cannot help you. And so it's different than a bank. A bank can just get that money back, right? But Coinbase can't for you. And so they have to lock accounts to ensure people don't lose money. So locking accounts is actually a good thing. And I know it sucks for some people because sometimes accounts get locked when it shouldn't be, but you got to understand that so many people are getting scammed out there that account locks are actually a good thing for most people. So I know it sucks for some, but don't let the people on Twitter that are trying to get loud over this stuff, don't let that kind of change your mind. Most of this is all really good things happening at Coinbase. Just look at their bottom line numbers and their reports. They're crushing it. So yeah. Okay. That's it. You want to add something?
If I'm Coinbase investor and the only thing that's concerning me today is that Coinbase support sucks, that's bullish.
Yeah,
right?
That's so bullish. Okay, cool. Well, we're gonna wrap it up there. We've gone 5 minutes over already, so we're gonna stop at that point. But thanks everyone for joining. That was a lot of fun. I hope everyone has a great holiday, enjoys their Christmas or whatever it is that you celebrate. And we'll be off for a couple of weeks. We'll still be obviously setting up pro reports. We'll be in the chat still over the holidays, but probably less. So please give us a break if we don't respond to your questions within a day or two. Like we're trying to spend time with our families. I'm going to Whistler snowboarding. Martin, I'm not sure what you're doing. Maybe going back to wherever. But just give us a little bit of a break. We'll be around, but we just won't be here as much. We're going to take a couple weeks off. But thanks everyone for joining. Let's hope we have another bullish rest of the month. And yeah, thanks again. This was fun.
Thank you guys. See you next year.
As always, if you liked today's episode, please hit subscribe and make sure you follow us so you don't miss out on the next one. There's also a link in the description to our free 5-minute daily newsletter where we simplify crypto for you while making you laugh. And if you're willing to step up your crypto investing game, we're going to also leave a link for Milk Road Pro. You get access to our portfolio where you can see exactly what we are buying. This is your number one resource to help you invest successfully in crypto. One final note, this show is for educational purposes only, and nothing we say is financial advice. Investing in crypto or any asset is risky, and you should never invest more than you can afford to lose. Thanks so much for listening in, my friends. Have a wicked awesome day.